fourth dimension.
Be a past life.
I believe you've probably already gotten a lot of answers on this, but I'm a past life healer, trauma healer, and a few other things that aren't important. Oh, it's 11:33. 120%. Your past lives can be your spirit guide. I'm probably going to take the opportunity to make this a series because I believe I haven't talked about. Actually, the majority of your spirit guides that come to you are either yourself or different incarnations of the people that you're friends with now. Also, your spirit guides, they change, they switch. They're not always the same. They're not always ancestors, they're not always angels, they're not always twin flames. They change all the time. For me personally, my spirit guides, it's almost like a revolving door. Since I am a past life healer, my spirit guides rotate. Some of them do, and some of them stay the same, but they rotate based on the person I'm going to work with next. So like a past life version of them might be my spirit guide, or one of their spirit guides might be a past life version of me, because they're bringing us together, they're helping bring us together. Also, your human form now, that's a version of a spirit guide. I've come across some really interesting spirit guides. I'm not a spirit guide specialist, but it comes up sometime. One time I was having a session with someone and their spirit guide, I believe this was like last year, so it was either Peter or Paul or something like this, not the disciples. And we looked into it, and their spirit guide was their bartender in a different life, someone that they confided in and that they talked to and that they connected with. Another spirit guide of theirs, we ended up taking them into a past life, and they were like, wait a second, it was a dragon life. They were a dragon. They're like, this is one of my spirit guides. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, you're one of your own spirit guides. Yep, that works. It checks out. It happens quite often. Or sometimes your spirit guide is connected to a life you need to heal. Like one person had an older Mexican woman with a chancla and went to go look at the life connected to it, and it ended up they were the woman's husband in that life, and there was a funeral and a lot of stuff to heal. Spirit guides that stay with me all the time are connected to my closest friends that I've known on my soul's journey, that I've met in human now recently, but I've been with them since our soul's creation, and I have a version of them as my spirit guides. I don't consciously talk to my guides. I usually talk to just spirit or source, but I actually, if they're in my human, like in my human life, I just talk to them as humans. I don't need to talk to the guide version of them. Do you know what I mean? But yes, absolutely, a past life version of you can be your spirit guide. For more information on that, you can actually check out my Linktree, and there is a tab for Akashic Records, past life, and inner child. You can actually ask to see. You don't have to go into your library. You can just ask spirit to see it. You don't have to meditate either. The life that's connected to this past life version of you, that's your spirit guide.
Hey, oh, I'm not ashamed to be dancing on my own. Don't need to be tied to nobody. I'm free, so please take your bullshit somewhere else. I don't need you like me, 'cause I told you that I like you. It's a
Astral, do they look like they're physical vessels?
I might have to make a series on this one. Sometimes I see, mostly I feel, but I work with tons of people who see. Also, the astral realm is an in-between place, is in between dimensions, so that's really interesting. It's the same place as the dream realm. I have it pretty much set up to where when people see my soul, it looks like me, or it feels like me. They can tell that it is me that they're working with. There was a time period when people were pretending to be me, but I fixed that. I'll talk about that later in the series. When I started merging my dimensional forms, I was also like a blob of all the dimensional forms. Like, I'm a squid, but I'm also Leviathan, I'm also Behemoth, I'm also the Tree of Knowledge, and I have a seraphim form, many others. So my higher dimensional frequency person was like a blob with a lot of eyes and wings and tree branches. It was weird. And tentacles. So let's break that down. Shall we? Breaking this down a little bit further. People used to say, oh, Kat, I saw you in my dreams. And I would just be like, oh, cool. Like, what did we do? Because when I leave my body, when I'm sleeping, I'm working. So I don't remember the dreams. That's another thing. If you don't remember your dreams, you might be out there working. Some people work in the dream realms. Others, like me, work in other people's dreams, but not in dream realms. That's hard to explain, but basically, I'm out of my body and I'm working. You are a consciousness that exists on all sorts of dimensions. My 3-dimensional vessel was sleeping. It was not working. That's why most of the spiritual work that I do, I'm awake for. So my consciousness is aware of what I'm doing. Do you know what I'm saying? So when people would see me in their dreams and I would say, hey, what were we doing? If they said, oh, well, you brought me a sword and you said, get ready for battle, I'd be like, that wasn't me. Might have felt like me, might have looked like me, but it was not me. Once I discovered that it was possible for someone to mimic your astral physique or your who you are or whatever, I went in and I removed everybody who was in any of my vessels across time and space. And I locked my Oversoul into all of my vessels, so only my Oversoul can get into my vessels, and my vessels can exist on other dimensions. So I removed anyone that was in any of my vessels, and I cleansed and purified them and wrapped them in light, love, and forgiveness and returned them to their rightful owners. And then I absolutely anchored all of my light bodies back into all of my vessels, and I anchored it in so that nobody can touch them. So when I appear in dreams, I'll still ask people, like, what were we doing? And usually the answer is we were working on past lives. You were healing me. You were telling me, bitch, you got this. All of them sound like me because it is me now. And I look like me when I'm dealing with humans. I have a friend that I mention every once in a while. Her name is Nicole, Miss Bunny 3. I'll tag her. And whenever my soul needs her, it just shows up to her. So she's one of the ones that saw me in all my different dimensional forms. Like, she'd be like, oh, your tree came to visit me. Your behemoth came to visit me. This weird, tall beast with wings and eyes and tentacles came to visit me, because that was when all of my dimensional forms were merged into one. Also working with my friend Kate, she'd be like, oh, Kat, you look weird right now. And I'd be like, what do I look like? And she'd be laughing, and I could feel what I look like. Like, I can feel how my body is. And you can feel if you're really tall or really short or blob or with tentacles and all that stuff. But Kate could see me, and it would make her laugh quite a bit. And Nicole would be like, do I have to hug this thing with eyes everywhere? It was great. But that's how I discovered I need to put my dimensional forms back in their correct dimension. Your dimensional forms exist right now, just like your 3-dimensional human self exists right now. Plus, your Oversoul has multiple vessels on the Earth's timeline, so you might not just be human. You could also be, like, I'm a squid and I'm a cat. Those are closer to truer forms of, like, a higher vibration of my, or higher condensity of my soul. But I also have other humans that are part of my Oversoul. They have their own consciousness, just like the squid does and the cat does. But the humans have their own consciousness, but they're a part of my Oversoul as well, and I'm part of theirs. And you can merge those together. And I was merging all my dimensional forms, like my 24th dimensional is the Seraphim, my 12th dimensional is Archangel Michael. Those are higher dimensions, so they have more of us are the same Seraphim and the same Archangel. That's a long story. I have a lot of videos on that. I'll talk about it. Why not? Why not here? So your higher dimensional frequency forms are too big to fit in one vessel in the 3D. 3D vessels are pretty small. They can only house so big of a frequency. That's true. It's true. The Earth plane is a couple of dimensions. It's the 3-dimensional, which is the physical form. Then you've got the 4th dimensional, which is the consciousness. Then the 5th dimension, which is the ability to empathize and relate to other people. The 6th dimension is the traveling part. Like, you can move around, you can interact in the dimensions. 7th dimension and higher, you are bigger souls. You're bigger. And that's why the gods and goddesses that were on the earth were giants. They were bigger. They could house a higher frequency inside their human vessels. Well, not human, but 3-dimensional vessels. So that's that part. Your past lives which that's just the common way we call it, but your past lives are happening all at once, is all along the Earth's timeline and even the alien timelines, the three-dimensional planes. But you also have lives in these higher dimensional forms. You do. But a timeline only exists in 3D. That also goes with aliens or time travelers. They're actually from quote-unquote past, moving towards us in their little spaceships, which are time machines. This is going into another topic. I'll talk about that some other time, I guess. But I discovered I needed to merge my energy, my human energy, my consciousness with all these dimensional forms and these timeline forms. Because since time's happening at once, if one of my past life versions is going through some kind of hardship, it's going to affect my now. And if my now is going through a hardship, it's going to pass. It doesn't just go for your higher dimensional selves, this goes for your lower dimensional selves. People think of lower as negative or bad. But if you think of frequency like music, it's a different tone, but a frequency, positive or negative, vibrates at the same frequency. Not good frequency or bad frequency. That's just something they made you afraid of, light versus dark. No, it's not. It's the same thing. It is. It's the same thing. But honestly, it took me a while to go look for my lower dimensional forms because of fear. Because, I didn't know any better. I know better now. I merged with my lower dimensional selves too, and my upper dimensional selves. So not just seraphim, but also demons. Ooh, that word is scary. But you align with these frequency forms of you, so it's almost like aligning your chakras. It becomes like a straight web instead of like a jagged all over the place thing. You're aware of each other. You're still your own consciousness. When I went searching for all my dimensional forms, I have, my 24th dimension. I still haven't looked at all of mine. I've still got a lot to go. I've got 24th dimension, 12th dimension, whatever dimension fairies are in, the Danu person of fairies, I'm connected to I'm part of that Oversoul. Multiple people are, but I'm part of that one. I've got the Mind Flare, I've got Leviathan, I've got Behemoth, I got lots, more than I'm even talking about. Archangel Michael, I've got Ashton or Ashtar, that's his name. If you look at them, the blonde hair, blue-eyed, Michael and Ashtar, they're the same soul. They're my soul. I'm them. Again, more people are than me. And they're not all blonde hair, blue-eyed. I'm just saying. But now I merge with them and I put us back to our correct dimensional form. All of my dimensional forms are aware of each other. Like they know there's a 3D version of them.
No good or bad, no holy or evil. 24D, center point. 24D vibrate at the same frequency, just different tones. The Oversoul split through the dimensions.
Past's happening right now, the future's happening right now. It's from my series. I've now shortened it called Miracles, but it used to be called Miracles or Future You. I'm really excited because I'm releasing it on my YouTube. There's some playlists that I reference all the time, and not everybody has the playlist feature on TikTok, so I thought, it's time to put some of this stuff on YouTube. So I put the whole thing up there. It was edited by Shaden, my editor. I'll tag him below. Yeah, so go on over there and watch it if you want to. Don't let me tell you how to live your life. Okay, bye!